Hello, and welcome to my 2025 African American History Month Creative Sims. When selecting these figures to spotlight, I try to focus on the lesser known figures that we are impacted by their contributions daily. However, they may not be as well known. History is all around us and has an impact on our day to day life. I enjoy doing these videos because when I am looking for individuals to spotlight, I learn more about the figures that I thought I knew. So sit back and enjoy this video, and hopefully it will tell you something that you didn't know. Born and raised in Mississippi, Robert Johnson started playing Delta blues in the late 1920s. His eerie falsetto singing voice and masterful rhythmic slide guitar influenced both his contemporaries and many later blues and rock musicians. Robert Johnson is known as the king of the Delta blues and the father of rock and roll. Despite his enormous influence, Johnson's musical career lasted barely 6 years, and he conducted just 2 recording sessions. Johnson was the product of a confusing childhood, with 3 men serving as his father before he reached the age of 7. Little is known about his biological father, Noah Johnson, whom his mother never married. As a boy, he and his mother lived in various plantations in the Mississippi Delta region before briefly settling in Memphis, Tennessee with her first husband, Robert Dodds, who later changed his surname to Spencer. The bulk of Johnson's youth, however, was spent in Robinsonville, Mississippi with his mother and her second husband, Dusty Willis. There, Johnson learned to play the Jew's harp and harmonica before taking up the guitar. In 1929, he married 16-year-old Virginia Travis, whose death in childbirth, along with that of their baby in April of 1930, devastated Johnson. He is said to have devoted himself to the guitar. Part of the Crossroads story comes from a report that he dropped out of sight for a while in the 1930s and returned a much improved guitarist. That time away is central to Johnson's mythic status. Have you heard the Crossroads story? According to legend, at the stroke of midnight, he walked down the windswept crossroads at the junction of highways 61 and 49 in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Reciting an ancient incantation, he called upon the devil to make his deal. In exchange for Johnson's immortal soul, the devil tuned his guitar, thereby giving him the abilities which he so desired in exchange for the stipulation that he would only have 8 more years to live. From then on, the young bluesman played his instrument with an unearthly style, his fingers dancing over the strings. His voice moaned and wailed, expressing the deepest sorrow of a condemned sinner. Just a little side note here. A similar story circulated in regard to another Mississippi bluesman, Tommy Johnson, who was not related. Music historian Robert Palmer, in his highly regarded book, Deep Blues, instead ascribes Robert Johnson's remarkable musical attainments to the time he had to hone his skills as a guitarist under the instruction of Ike Zinnemann, who he met through his financial support he received from the older woman he married near Hazelhurst, Mississippi, and to the variety of music to which he was exposed during his hiatus from Robinsonville, including the single string picking styles of Lonnie Johnson and Scrapper Blackwell. In between 1936 and 1937, he recorded at least 29 songs while in Texas, before returning to Mississippi to play and sing in clubs and bars. His mysterious death at the age of 27 added to his legend. He died after being poisoned by a jealous boyfriend, then taking 3 days to expire. This while legendary talent scout John Hammond was searching him out to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City. Some people said that Robert's deal with the devil came due. Johnson left a legacy of Delta blues music that has influenced guitar players like Muddy Waters, and his songs have been covered by several rock stars, including Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones. Undisputed facts about Johnson's life are few and far between. More often than not, his legend has obscured the few grains of truth that can be discerned. According to the myth, the young bluesman desperately longed for fame and fortune. After his death, he was more or less forgotten until the release of the King of Delta Blues Singers. It was a 1961 album with 16 of his songs, showcasing him playing a mixture of blues and astonishingly some kind of prototype rock and roll, more than 2 decades before rock and roll was actually invented. The album turned Johnson into one of the founding fathers of rock and roll. Johnson became a major influence on pretty much every British rock and blues guitar player in the 1960s. We are talking artists and bands like Bob Dylan, Fleetwood Mac, the Rolling Stones, and many, many more. Since his rediscovery in the 1960s, Johnson's influence has spread wide and far. Artists not only name-check him, but many also cover his songs. Johnson was inducted in the Blues Hall of Fame in 1980 and in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1986. The double album, The Complete Recordings, was released in 1990, and it consisted of everything Johnson recovered, just 29 songs and 13 alternate takes. The collection received a Grammy Award for Best Historical Album and was inducted in the National Recording Registry in 2003 as historically and culturally significant. In 1998, Johnson was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame, and a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award followed in 2006. Thank you for staying to the end, and thank you for watching. What did you learn? Or was this just a reminder for you? Either way, I have more coming up. So have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and I'll see you next week.